are found already among the patriarchs, Moses and the prophets.
Nostra Aetate abolished any basis for the popular idea that Jews collectively were responsible for deicide or for the death of God in killing Christ. What Vatican II said, not that we should no longer blame Jews for that, but in fact said there was no reason to blame them in the first place.
And it was in 1963, when Cardinal Augustin Bea came before the council, and he said, I'm speaking in accord with the wish of Pope John the 23rd, who died the previous June, but he wished that this document, this idea, be presented to the council so that we could make sure that our church would do everything possible to keep Christian scriptures and Christian teachings from being misunderstood and used as an excuse for anti-Semitism or worse, so that what the terrible things that happened under the Nazis in the Holocaust would never happen again.
The holy city of Jerusalem, the cradle of the three monotheistic faiths, the capital of the state of Israel today, Jerusalem is the meeting place where people of all faith traditions converge, inspired by the past and challenged by the present. In this place, where the intense beauty of the city strikes the visitor, the text and collective histories of the different faiths come alive. For the Christian community, the old city of Jerusalem is particularly meaningful. Here, on the Via Dolorosa, the Way of the Cross, pilgrims come to commemorate the last journey of Jesus to the crucifixion. At the second station on this path stands the convent of Ecce Homo, where it is believed that the condemnation of Jesus by Pontius Pilate took place. The name of the convent is taken from the words spoken under the arch by Roman Governor Pilate. Ecce Homo, behold the man. Among the rich archaeological remains under the Ecce Homo lies an ancient Roman road where visitors encounter the historical roots of the life of Jesus.
Once more, Pilate came out and said to the Jews, "Look, I am bringing him out to you to let you know that I find no basis for a charge against him." When Jesus came out wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe, Pilate said to them, "Here is the man." As soon as the chief priests and their officials saw him, they shouted, "Crucify! Crucify!"
But Pilate answered, "You take him and crucify him. As for me, I find no basis." But they shouted, take him away, crucify him."
When I hear things like texts saying the Jews killed Jesus and the Jews responded, kill him, the main thing that I think is how necessary it is to give Christians a good interpretation of these texts. I remember living in Rome for a few years and hearing the Passion story in Rome and thinking, why has no one ever said all the Romans killed Jesus?
Walking in the Holy Land, it is possible to imagine Jesus in the context of his day.
The emphasis that we focus on as far as the teaching is that the Jewish roots of our Christian tradition, of our Catholic tradition, so that therefore we make sure that the Jewish traditions are also taught and that there is some understanding of that. Because as Sisters of Sign, our focus since Vatican II is very much to build bridges, to be reconcilers, to break down prejudices, especially anti-Semitism, but any kind of prejudices.
It really shows us how very interconnected we are, that we don't even know who we are if we don't know anything about Judaism or about the Jewish people. And not only that, when we say that Jesus was Jewish, he's still Jewish. And we need to teach that. If we believe in the resurrection and Jesus is resurrected, he's still Jewish. Maybe Jewish people don't need to be related to Christians, but we absolutely, in order to understand who we are, need to be related to Jews and to the Jewish tradition.
The atmosphere of the Second Vatican Council opened the door to a new process of dialogue which continues to this day.
I think since the Second Vatican Council, the Roman Catholic Church has taken the lead in terms of redefining itself vis-a-vis the Jewish people. That has very far-reaching implications for how Protestants should reconceptualize who they are and how they are to be in the world as well.
The Jewish community established the International Jewish Committee for Interreligious Consultations to represent Jewish views worldwide in the dialogue process with their Catholic counterpart, the Pontifical Commission on Religious Relations with the Jews.
The Jews who were active in the dialogue from the 60s on had to respond to the openings in the Catholic Church. And basically, almost everything was on the table. From the Catholic side, there was a great interest in education, learning about liturgy, coming to grips with their own past, particularly anti-Semitism, later on Holocaust, later on the State of Israel. So I think first was a lot of listening. Jews were listening, learning what the Catholic Church was doing and trying to figure out many ways to respond.
We, I think, as a people, as a history, are partially can't believe that people, after centuries of being persecuted, cannot, have to first build up enough trust to believe that this dialogue is real and not for missionary purposes or not for purposes of annihilation. So we have our own history to get over. But I believe certainly Jews living in the Western world today understand that it's not just important, it's vital. It's to speak and to get to know each other and to respect one another and to make space for one another.
The spring holiday season of Passover and Easter was historically a most volatile time in Jewish-Christian relations. Many believe that the Last Supper of Jesus with his disciples was in fact a Passover Seder. Throughout the Middle Ages, the reenactment of the death of Jesus in Passion plays stirred the crowds to rioting and persecution of the local Jewish population.
Blood libel that came tragically out of Christian quarters was overwhelmingly associated with Passover. I mean, for us today, the most ridiculous, it appears, myth was unfortunately genuinely believed by people that Jews have some interest or need to kill a Christian child and somehow transform that flesh into unleavened bread and drink the blood as the wine.
God of our fathers, bring us to future feasts and festivals in peace, and to the upbuilding of your city.
At the Passover Seder, Jews recount the story of the Exodus from Egypt. Young and old alike participate in celebrating this holiday of freedom. Toward the end of the Seder, the front door is open to welcome Elijah the prophet, who heralds the Messianic age. A symbolic glass of wine is poured for this guest. In Christian Europe, the opening of the door was also an invitation to the non-Jewish neighbors to see that, in fact, there was no unsavory activity transpiring, no blood being spilled. It was a Jewish response to the blood libel charge. In some homes, white wine, rather than red, was used to dispel suspicion. These traditions continue to this day, even though the historical context has radically changed.
If you went to a Catholic service on Good Friday 1950, you would hear a prayer where we said, usually in Latin, but then if it was translated for the people, we would pray for the perfidious Jews. Now that's a transliteration of the word perfidii, which means simply the unbelieving. But as we know in English, perfidious means hateful or bad.
Beginning with the papacy of Pius XII, The word perfidious in the Eastern